Hi, I'm Billy, and this is the Unlock Your Child's Full Potential podcast. I'm a mom of three lovely girls, and I'm looking for answers. I'm looking for ways to fill the gaps left by the school system and teach my kids the lessons that are going to prepare them for real life. I want to learn practical tips that I can use to raise capable and confident young people who are kind, caring, and authentic, and who bring value to the world. I know it's a lot. But I think as parents, we have the unique role of nurturing the potential of the special human beings entrusted to our care. We can't expect school and the teachers to do everything, and we don't want to let the environment decide who our kids become. It's up to us to coach our children on how to be successful and fulfilled. That's my goal here, to talk to as many parents, educators, experts, you name it, and ask the questions. Look for the universal principles. Find as many tools as possible to be a better parent and give my kids a head start in life. If that resonates with you, join me every Wednesday and let's inspire each other to create an environment where our children can blossom into the best versions of themselves. Hello, everyone. Today, I'm joined by Valerie Recore, a productivity specialist, a time giver, and a certified Fair Play Method facilitator. Valerie helps moms gain a sense of control, spend more time with their families, and end their days feeling accomplished. Today, we're doing something different. Instead of an interview, Valerie is going to coach me on getting my family involved in household tasks. Most of you know that I'm a mom of three girls, ages 9, 7, and 4. So we're going to use my family as an example to illustrate how to share the load of managing a household with our children. Aside from freeing a little bit our own overflowing plate, I think it's important because we want to teach our sons and daughters to have their own responsibilities, to help out and be a part of the family team, rather than expect everything to be done for them, and also preparing them for when they get out on their own and start their own family. So hello, Valerie. I'm so excited to do this with you.
Hi, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I think this is going to be a great conversation.
Let's start by giving people some information about the Fair Play Method. What is it and how does it connect to our topic today?
Yeah. So the Fair Play Method is the answer to a mom feeling like she's doing it all and she doesn't know how to get out of this place of overwhelm and exhaustion. It started out as a book by a woman named Eve Rodsky. It's also now a deck of cards and a whole movement, if you will. It's really at its core a tool that helps families function as a team. So it's really taking mom out of the role of household manager, where mom is the one who tells everybody what to do, and dad might come on, or whoever their partner is might show up and just say, just tell me how to help. Right? There's still that mental load. There's still a lot of planning behind the scenes before somebody goes and buys groceries or school supplies or schedules doctor's appointments. Like there's a lot that happens behind the scene that tends to just happen in mom's heads, just like ticker tape, right? That we're always thinking about. And this takes a lot of that out of mom's head and shares it with everybody else in the family and gets other people fully involved from beginning to end. For example, my husband does most of the cooking and most of the grocery shopping. And so that is his responsibility to figure out what food we need, when to shop for it. He shops for it and he prepares it and he cooks it. There are many steps in there, right? Yes. And that has become his role. Now, in theory, in Fair Play, you're supposed to share some things back and forth, especially the daily grind things, the like preparing food and grocery shopping and laundry and dishes and all of those things, right? Because the one person shouldn't be responsible for something forever and ever. In our household, and it may look different right? I just do the laundry. My 10-year-old daughter helps and does her part of it, her and her sister's part. But for the most part, I just do the laundry. I keep up with it. I've taken that on. I would rather not grocery shop and make dinner. My husband's happy to take that on. That's his. And then we check in with each other every now and then. Is this still working? Do you want to trade or shift something in a way that kind of changes things up?
That's amazing. That's an ongoing conversation.
It's really what Eve calls it's a game played for life. So this isn't something where you're going to sit down one time and say, okay, you're going to do this and this person's going to do that. And then we never come back to it. It's an ongoing conversation, an ongoing game, because things shifts, right? As your daughters grow older, what they are capable of doing is going to change. What your day-to-day life looks like is going to change. So who's doing what should probably change with that as well.
Yeah, totally relate to that. It's my home right now. I'm the one who does all the thinking behind all the processes, and people help, but still it's up to me to put food on the table, to do the laundry. And if nobody else pitches in, it's up to me to get it done. So that's where I feel kind of exhausted at some point, and I want to change things a little bit. But today we are going to focus on the kids, not the partner, because I guess that's a whole other conversation. I would like to know where to start with the kids. Maybe I can tell you how things look like at my home today, so we can figure out, because clearly something is missing and I'm not doing it right, but I can't put my finger on what needs to be done. So maybe here's where you can help.
Yeah. I would start by saying, let's include your partner in this conversation, and maybe it becomes a family conversation, unless you would prefer to leave him out of this. We
can do that.
But I think it starts there, and then you get your kids involved.
Okay.
Or it starts as a whole family.
See, I don't know what I'm talking about already.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I think it can be, and your kids are old enough that this could be a family conversation. And maybe you float it by your husband first, your partner first, and just say, I've come across this tool. I'd really like to check it out. Can we talk about it? And here's how I would like it to show up in our family. So tell me, we can start with your kids and kind of how do things happen in your household? Share an example.
Okay. So all my girls are already doing things like tidying up toys after they're done playing, making their beds, putting their clothes away. What I now want to do is involve them in household tasks that are contributing to the whole family's well-being, like loading and unloading the dishwasher, doing the laundry, vacuuming the floor. And they have helped me from time to time to do these things, but they're not consistent. So it never becomes a part of their routine. I would love to put upkeep on autopilot. And maybe I'm delusional. I'm mistaken to expect this to happen. But I would like to avoid the constant questions. Did you unload the dishwasher? Did you vacuum? I don't want to be nagging. And I don't know. Maybe it's just too boring to be responsible for the laundry the whole time. Maybe I have to mix it up every week. I don't know. But they just don't seem to be up for it on a regular basis. And I've had some success when I offered pocket money when they complete a chore. But I'm wondering if that sends the wrong message. My idea was to give them an incentive in the beginning until they get used to doing the chores and then gradually phase it out. But I'm not there yet. That's my situation. What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah. So I feel like we could have a whole other conversation on incentives and paying kids for chores around the house. And everybody out there is going to have a different opinion on whether you do that or not. I am of the belief that we all live in this house. You pitch in, period. Like you're not getting paid extra for emptying the dishwasher because you live here and the dishwasher needs to get emptied. I always worry with incentives and phasing them out that then there's no reason for them to continue doing the chore. Like, why should I bother? You were paying me before. Now you're not. Why should I continue? That in and of itself, there is no right or wrong answer to that. Let me just put that out there. Like that we really could probably have a whole conversation, and there are probably experts out there who could argue both sides of that. So for the sake of this conversation, let's go with we are all a team and we all need to be pitching in, right? Like when my kids are laying on the couch complaining because they don't want to do whatever I've asked them to do, this is probably not the best response, but my response is, well, then I'm going to quit doing laundry. Or I know dad doesn't want to make dinner anymore. Like we're just sort of all going to quit. And then what's going to happen? Then my kids freak out because now they're like, well, who's going to make sure I have clean clothes and who's going to put dinner on the table? And it's kind of like, we all live here. So let's all pitch in. And maybe there's a way to make it fun. Nobody likes doing chores, right? I am staring at a dishwasher. It's my day to empty the dishwasher. I don't want to do it. I'm not looking forward to it. I've been putting it off most of today. After this call, I will probably go take care of it because I need to, right? And the reward for having it done is that we now have clean dishes and we can carry on with the rest of our day. Maybe it's something like when I clean, I like to listen to podcasts. It's about the only time that I ever listen to podcasts. If all of us are working on household projects together, I let one of the kids pick music and we turn the music up really loud and we dance around the house while we are dusting, while we are cleaning their room. And we do it together. So my kids are 8 and 10, almost 11, and really anybody, but let's say for the sake of this conversation, kids don't want to do things by themselves.
Even at this age, I was thinking that they're old enough now.
We don't want to do it, right? So my 10-year-old can clean her room by herself. She can make her lunch by herself. But sometimes she just needs a little bit of extra support. So as we're getting ready to go back into the school year, we've spent the last couple of weeks really just purging our house, going through the kids' bedrooms and making sure everything is organized and has a home and getting rid of the things that we don't need. I helped my 10-year-old with that in her room. There were some things that I might leave a pile of. Like we've been working together long enough that I can leave her with a stack of paper and she can now go through it on her own. My 8-year-old would leave that stack of paper on her desk, never to look at it again because she doesn't want to. But if I sit down with her and go through it, then things can happen. And so it's keeping in mind that nobody wants to do any of this stuff, right? Like I don't like cleaning the floors, but it needs to happen. I don't really know who loves going grocery shopping, but it needs to happen. So can we add an element of fun to it? Maybe there's, let's say like a Saturday morning, everybody's home, we're going to do some chores, and then we're going to watch a movie or go do something fun together. So the reward is something we do as a family at the end of it. That could also be a possibility.
I like that. So everyone is doing their own chore, right?
Potentially, you might need to help your daughter or your partner might need to help your daughter. We need to kind of do it together. Even if you know that they're capable of doing it on their own, they might still just want some support. I know my 8-year-old can sort and fold her laundry. She doesn't want to. The majority of her clothes are still in her clean clothes basket because I don't want to spend the time with her to do it. It means she's only wearing what's on the top half of the basket as she pulls out what she wants, but she's not going to do it on her own because she doesn't want to. It's boring. Why should she make her bed and deal with her clothes because I want her to?
My 7-year-old is the same. Yeah. Kids are different. So we have to learn how to motivate them. Something that's fun, like the music, but it's going to be fun the first few times. I'm not sure that's going to work every time.
It might not. And so then we're playing around with this. One of the things that I highly recommend doing are family meetings. So once a week, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about what the week looks like. We're going to talk about who's in charge of what this week. So my kids trade off who feeds the cat and who brushes their teeth first and sort of a variety of things that kind of go together. My kids fight about lots of, they're 2 girls close in age. So
mine too, but I haven't thought of planning it. So that's what I did.
The brushing your teeth first came up during the pandemic when my oldest was complaining because she was always the first one to brush her teeth. And so now we have a calendar that has every day it changes. So, and there's just 2 of them. So it's easy, but it's also, so if it's your day to brush your teeth, it's also your day to feed the cats. And you were in charge of the remote and get a specific seat on the couch that they also fight over. And so it's just kind of like there's some chores and some rewards in there. And then it's like if they're fighting over something, it's look at the calendar. Whoever's day it is gets.
That's so smart.
Kind of wins.
So you print it out and you put it somewhere.
So I have a dry erase board that we use. You could use a digital calendar. You could use whatever makes sense for your family. Tying this back into fair play, a big part of all of that is really talking. And it would be actually a great conversation for you and your partner, and then to involve your kids down the road. But a big part of it is really talking through the values behind all of the tasks and chores that you do. So there's a deck of cards that you can also buy. There's a list of the same tasks in the book as well. So every card is its own task. And some of them are things like making breakfast during the week, because that looks different, right? When you're trying to get the kids out the door for school, it's going to look different than a Sunday morning. And so you could have 2 different people in charge of that. But you're also going to talk about what do birthday parties look like? How do you celebrate and bring magic to your families? What do the holidays look like? And who's in charge of that magic for the holidays? And you're really getting into the values that your family wants to live out every day. And maybe the value behind taking the trash out is going to be a quick and easy conversation. And so we just don't want bugs in our kitchen. We don't want our kitchen to smell. And so here's what that looks like. So continuing to have these conversations. And for me, this is like the most important work that I do with my clients and that I encourage people to do, because it can take out so many things that you are doing because you feel obligated to.
Exactly.
Or, like maybe you're throwing elaborate birthday parties because all of your kids' friends are doing it and you hate it and your kids don't really love it either, but you do it because you feel like you have to. Whereas if you sat down and talked with your kids about it and they just said, I'd be happy with an ice cream party and 5 friends versus 30 people and goodie bags and all of this other stuff, then you can focus on that. And so then you're getting time back. Right now, you're saving yourself time and money because you're not buying junk for the goodie bags and you're not having to feed 30 people, you're just having some ice cream and some kids over. And it's very simple.
Okay, I'm hopping in for just a minute to tell you about the free resource I recently created. It's called the Connection Blueprint, and it consists of 5 tools that will help you improve the relationship with your child and create an environment where your kid feels seen, heard, and loved. After all the lessons we want to teach our kids require us to first have a trusting relationship with them so that they're ready to hear our advice and lean on our support. Anytime I feel disconnected and out of sync with my own children, I get back to this blueprint, put the tools to practice, and it works wonders. I'm sure having a loving and trusting relationship with your kids is a top priority for you too. So check the show notes and get your copy of the Connection Blueprint.
And so getting into those conversations can be really helpful. And I know I've veered away from kids in the chores, so I'll come back.
It's okay.
That. So really having those conversations. I was reading something on social media the other day about this woman who was getting ready to celebrate her daughter's 3rd birthday. And she was frustrated with her husband who wasn't helping. And that in and of itself was a conversation to be had. But she was also planning for like 50 people to come over and putting together gift bags and all of this stuff. And I wanted to sit her down and ask her questions as to why are you doing this? If you enjoy it and this is your jam, you love having lots of people over and you want to go all out, please hear me, please do it. But if you're doing it because you feel obligated to, let's talk about that. Because it's exhausting and it creates more work and it creates more cleanup time and more prep time and everybody's tired and cranky and you want to have something that everybody is going to enjoy. And then you can also get people involved, everybody involved in your house.
Yeah, I'm very clear on what my values are and I'm doing what I believe in. But my thing is that I haven't delegated any of it to my partner nor my kids. I haven't talked this through. And nobody knows about this mental load I'm carrying.
I think you just hit on something. I think that's huge because we carry all of this stuff around, but nobody knows that we're thinking about it. Nobody knows. And we get mad. I forget sometimes, right, that other people are not in my head, that they don't see everything that I'm thinking about. Actually, I sat down this weekend. My kids, so they start school next week. And then the week after that, they have a couple of days off for some testing. So they'll have to go in for a few hours of testing, but then they'll have like a day and a half off. Like, all right, these are the days that we can, go shoe shopping and go buy clothes and do all these things and do a couple fun things. And I sat down this weekend and was just like, look, I can't figure out how we're going to spend this day and a half. Here are all of the things that we need to do in the next couple of weeks. I need your help to figure out what our priorities are. Are we going shoe shopping? Are we going clothes shopping? Are we going swimming with grandma? Can't fit it all in. So what are our priorities? Because I don't want to figure that all out. And so like one of my kids was like, wow, that was all in your brain. It's like, yeah, it is. These are the things that I think about because we're starting school. And I know that you're all outgrowing your shoes and that you probably don't have pants to get you through the winter. And so we need to go start shopping for all of this stuff. Starting all of this before we dive into what chores are going to look like with your kids, but having these conversations about what all of this looks like, what is important to us, and what is what the method calls the minimum standard of care. So what does a clean kitchen look like? What does the dishwasher emptied look like? And it's not mom or whoever has the higher standards. It's an agreed upon place based upon your values. I don't want to spend all of my time and all of my weekends cleaning. So I'm working on lowering my standards or shifting my standards so that things just get done on occasion. Nothing is growing mold and everybody can find what they need. Period.
Okay.
And a couple times a year, we'll do like a deeper clean in the summer. And around the holidays, we'll go through the toys and the papers and the stuff that seems to accumulate in my kids' rooms and sort and organize it. And they will clean up between now and the holidays, but it won't be maybe quite as thorough. And we will keep the clutter at bay and we will sweep the floors and mop the floors and dust and all of that. But I don't want to spend my time doing all of that. Hiring that out doesn't make sense for us right now either, and is a lot of its own work in and of itself. So I think in your case, it's really starting to have those conversations. Are you all aligned around your values? Are they similar enough? And then what does that look like? And what are you and your partner modeling to your kids? That's the other thing. If mom is doing everything and dad is not participating or dad is helping, that's not really what we want to model. We want to model a team where dad has full ownership of chores and mom has full ownership of chores. And then kids have full ownership of chores. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm not sure what we're modeling to them.
And that's also just to keep in mind, and that could probably, again, be a whole other conversation, that taking care of the house and the kids is more than a full-time job. And so it falls into what Eve calls a toxic time message, that because your husband, and I fall into this too, right? My husband's job pays for our health insurance and our mortgage, but it doesn't mean that his time is more important than yours.
No, it doesn't. He's very supportive, but his job is a priority. So he's not doing the chores as much as I am. And he's helping when he can. And this is where I am having trouble with assigning responsibilities. You are responsible for shopping and cooking and stuff. And maybe here's where we need to have a conversation. The more I listen to you, the more I realize that that's something we have to do.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that it's one conversation and you'll solve everything. It's going to be an ongoing process. Right? Like my husband and I still fall into very traditional patterns. My job is more flexible. I tend to take on a lot more. And then I catch myself and then we talk about it. Like this year, I want my kids to take on more because I am tired of constantly asking them if they've taken their vitamins. Have you brushed your hair? Have you packed your lunch? Have you done this or that?
Yeah.
They are waking up on their own with new alarm clocks this year because I don't want to be the one to wake them up every day. So we're working on that. And I know I'm still going to sit at the breakfast table and ask them to take their vitamins, but we're working on them taking that ownership over their own routines. With the chores, it's really making sure everybody knows that minimum standard of care, what needs to happen and when. And with their kids and potentially with their partners, it's helping them understand how to do that. So my 10-year-old helps with the laundry. I usually start their load of laundry, and then she's responsible for moving it from the washer to the dryer and then sorting it.
But in her own time?
So
do you give them some flexibility?
We got to kind of move it through the process pretty quickly for her or with her. I do remind her, or I'll at least say, hey, your laundry is in the washer. When you hear it go off, please take care of it. Sometimes she needs a reminder, but she tends to take care of it pretty quickly. I might be the one who pays attention to, okay, she's not home and I need to do this laundry. I'm going to do all of the other laundry first and do hers last so that I'll leave it in the dryer and then she has to deal with it from there. Like there's some grace and flexibility in there. And the minimum standard of care for that is, look, we need to keep moving on laundry baskets. I either need to buy several more laundry baskets. We just have to keep up with laundry. And so what we have decided on is that we just keep up with laundry. And it doesn't take her that long to do it. And she's figured out how to set it up. She puts in her earbuds, turns on some music, gets all the laundry basket she needs, sits down in a chair and just knocks it out. Like she's got her process. And I let her figure that out. That's what makes sense for her. My 8-year-old might do it differently if she wanted to. I might do it differently, but she figured that out. And that is her responsibility to take care of.
Do they have a checklist, like they mark whenever they've completed a chore, or that's not needed? I'm looking for some kind of a reward system so they can feel they've accomplished something. How do you do it?
So we use a checklist, just a piece of paper put inside like a sleeve that you can write with a dry erase marker on so that you can erase the marker and reuse it over and over. Digital might work for your family. There are so many things out there that you just Google chore charts and you'll come up with way too many options. And so you need to know what works for you, right? So we are not a digital family. We have tried the digital calendars, the app reminders, does not work for us. We ignore them. We are paper people. This is what works for us, chore charts.
Me too.
We also have been known to create a chore chart and put it on the wall and promptly forget it exists. There's one on my kid's bathroom door that we created last year that I see on occasion, but we kind of ignore. So this year we're trying, each kid has a checklist. My 10-year-old is using it. My 8-year-old from the get-go has just been complaining that she's never going to use it. Just like, I'm not going to do it. Like, I've already lost it on my desk. I don't really care. I'm never going to use it. So we're going to have...
She's still doing her chores without
But
it.
she's still working on her chores. Yeah. With reminders from us, but we're working on that, right? So she learns differently than her older sister. It's meeting your kids where they are and what works best for you. So we may turn to digital everything down the road as my kids get older and they're out scheduling things on their own more. We're probably going to need a digital calendar. Play around with it. It's an experiment. And one of the things that is very important to the work I do is this evaluation piece of it, both from that front end of what are the values and how are we living them out and how are we completing chores in our house to, okay, we've been doing something this way for 6 weeks. Let's talk about whether or not it's working and what do we need to tweak. And that's right. We can just get into these rhythms and kind of forget that maybe we should look at whether it's working or not.
I would like to have it as a rhythm. So no questions need to be asked and everyone knows what they're doing. What I also liked is during the weekend, for example, you go out and celebrate as a family that you've completed all the chores this week, spending some time together because you have the time that you saved because everybody was pitching in.
Yeah. For me, one of the biggest benefits of implementing the fair play method is that mom has time and brain space back and is less stressed out because she's not thinking of all of these things. Other people are taking stuff off of her plate, whatever metaphor you want to throw out there. Like it's not all on mom anymore. We're a team. Like I fully understand how much work buying groceries and making dinner every day is. And I love that I don't have to do it. And the few occasions that my husband has been sick in bed and I've had to take over, I'm exhausted. And I'm even more grateful that he's taken that on because it frees up space for me to focus on my own hobbies or pursuits or something else that I would rather be focused on around the house or hanging out with my kids.
So do you think we covered it all? Are there any other tools we can give parents to make it easier to involve kids in household chores?
It starts with talking with your partner, whether you are co-parenting or living together, whatever that looks like, having that conversation of what are the things that are important to us and kind of going through what's called building your deck. So what are all of these tasks, these task cards that we need to have? What makes sense for us? And then what is a priority in this season that we need to focus on? And then getting your kids involved. So what does that look like? So one of my goals for this next year is to get our kids involved in making dinner, in planning dinners, in baking on the weekends when we're making banana bread and prepping food for the week, and getting them involved so that they can take over some of that down the road. But we have to figure out kind of what is important now and then start getting our kids involved little by little. And that evaluation piece. So this isn't just one conversation and you're done. This is an ongoing conversation where you're tweaking what's working, talking about what's not, and figuring out how to move forward in a way that makes sense for everybody.
Yeah, and here comes the weekly meeting, right? This is where it all happens, talking about what was good and bad the week before and how we are going to plan the next week. I already have some ideas and I have a renewed motivation to reintroduce chores at home. So thank you for that, Valerie.
You're welcome.
Would you like to tell our listeners about your program, how they can work with you, what you can help them with, and where they can find you?
Yeah. So I do one-on-one coaching right now with the plan to roll out some self-paced programs this fall, just so you can kind of fit it into your busy life, kind of how to implement fair play on your own time, but with coaching support from me. So if you want to learn more about that, you can head to strideproductivity.com/school pickup, and that will give you access to my private podcast. And then whenever I'm rolling out some new stuff coming up this fall, I would love to just hear everybody's thoughts on this call and kind of what stuck out for you.
Thank you. I'm sure it will be helpful for many people.
Thank you so much for listening and letting me be a part of your day. If you enjoyed this episode or the show in general, please share it with a friend and help me reach more moms around the world. Also, if you find some value in this podcast and would like to help support it, please visit my Ko-fi page. The link is in the show notes. Any contribution is much appreciated. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe so you get notified when a new episode drops. I'll see you next week.